I want to welcome everyone to another edition of Guidance for the Soul Live, bridging the gap between love and hate. I had 5 or 6 titles come through for me in the last 10 minutes for where we could go with our hearts tonight. And I want to talk about the difference between vision questing with my loved ones, which I would call all souls, and the vision of guidance for a more general understanding of who we are as guides or as loved ones. So I want to say welcome all again, right? I had a little bit of a hiccup before coming on. And so let's just unwind. Okay, I'm going to talk about what that is. We're not going to you're going to have to excuse me. Some people are going to be worried about that topic. But seriously, how do we bridge, right, that topic with the art of love, right? What is love to all of us? It depends on your vision. In a soul level, they would say, well, my soul loves me no matter what. That's true. But on a more general level, what are we looking to do when we don't feel good about our hearts? And I'm going to talk blunt and straight to the heart. I lost my guide at one point in my mind. Okay, I thought I lost my own soul. That's where some people will take this vision of guidance and they will say only words of love and comfort could come from a higher vibrational soul like Brenda, right? And then others would say, oh no, I understand that vision. Very much so. We all have hate in our hearts, right? A lot of times it's actually in the mindset only. If you start to understand some of the previous sessions, and I'm sorry I'm not linking to them like I should be, but the idea that we create from our hearts is strong. But what happens is you get those visions through your mindset, and then your own soul will often give you that feeling of love for you when you go into that vision of love from your heart, right? We get those feelings brought to our heart of I'm adored by many. Now, that's the nature of where some people get to go when they do the work of guidance. And others will be hated for their work. And yet they are indeed guides. And what is it that's happening in the moment? Okay, so in my mind, I have to prepare myself for the vision of division. That's what I was hearing. What do we do to bridge the gap between that vision of it? Is it always about one side being less than the other? And who gets to determine what that vision is, right? If I go to the vision of love from all souls, it's a no-brainer. There is no vision of division. We're just all vibrating in the beauty of who we are. However, when we go to an understanding of love as many different shades of it, right? It's what we deem it to be in our minds for the most part. So your vision of love is very much of a, I want to feel good in my heart. I want to love my friends and my family. I want to open up to the nature of guidance. I want to open up to the nature of soul. I want to open up to the nature of looking good, feeling good, vibrating in my beauty, being soul worthy, right? We're going to talk about that. What often happens is that the nature of love overrides those visions of hatred, you often are able to overcome the vision of either self-hatred, which can happen to some people on the path of enlightenment. Believe it or not, you can rise to those other levels of understanding that bring about those changes. Some will see that in some of my visions. They'll say that's hateful, right? Versus an understanding of soul as, it's like I'm multidimensional, so you're not going to get all levels in the same breath. The collective visions that I bring forth are where that really shines. Those art is heart messages are very much appreciated by a lot of people. But in essence, I'm here to do the work that others would love to do, but can't get there, right? And this is where my bridging the gap of love and hate comes in. Because in essence, for my own beauty, I was in this place of going, yeah, I got there. I know what it's like to feel beautiful and guided and like everyone is beautiful and I love you and everything. And then I was like, but wait a minute. I can't expect everyone to be in that place when they come visit me. This is the reality of the world that I still vibrate in, right? I still deal with all of us. I still have my visions. I very much don't really, it's like very rarely would I say that I hate anybody. I can't even imagine that emotion for the most part at this point in time because of who I am and how much work I've done my whole life on trying not to hate people, but trying to understand. And I usually use that term of let's unwind this vision. And it's not to degrade anyone's ideas or their beliefs, but it very much was my process. And if I made it this way, without someone else's viewpoint being better than mine, wouldn't I want to hold that in the hearts for everybody? That's where that strength comes through. And for me, it's like I know I get a lot of rejection letters for those of you that want to say, I want my own soul, right? Versus, a topic. It doesn't mean that we're not going to talk about it at some point. So the view of hatred is for those of us who know we have it in our hearts, right? Oh yeah, I definitely don't vibrate with these people. That's one vision of hatred that the spiritual path may indeed put us on. If you go to an empath, they will tell you, I can feel the difference in vibration. It's a density, and you will definitely want to put up boundaries. There are very few people who have ever taken in the nature of the Hitler vibration from a mindset and not been able to say, that was not for me. That energy is gone in essence, but people still keep creating the vision of it in their minds. And these are from those souls that we want to talk about. Now, it's not about that particular vision, but it's about what's going on. How do we get people who we think are so filled with hatred? And how do they then sometimes, and we see this happen, start to unwind? It is an unwinding of our mindsets most often that get us to that path of love. Now, love does not mean like. It's the paper trail. How many people are taking notes? Right? You're wondering if we're going to be giving out some future predictions. It's about the nature of love. I get my love handed to me by my soul. Sometimes my soul drives me bananas. Okay. I get visions for family members off and on all the time, and I was getting sick of it. And I don't want to, I don't want people to feel guilty. It's no one that's on the screen, to be honest. I've been getting my butt handed to me by certain female family members in my life, not understanding why. And then I realized, oh yeah, I get it. I need to back off the energy of love and start to unwind my own heart on what's going on. I've had to deal with my own anger issues. Oh man, I still have them. I'm not a robot. So see, the idea is that, yeah, if you go to this idea of like, I'm going to go sit on my mountaintop and meditate, and this is not to demean anybody that has the viewpoint of, I need to be alone. I'm not able to a lot. Does my vibration rise when I come into my own heart? Absolutely. If you're of that nature where you can do the work. Right? I challenge myself. I have to swallow my pride and my mind and say, I'm feeling jealous, or I'm feeling insecure, or whatever emotion I might be having. I am with my soul. And sometimes it's even hard for me to admit defeat when it comes to this idea in my mind. I was like, I'm going to give up. Right? Don't give up, people. Don't ever give up on your own soul. And that's the nature of it. I was like hearing this stuff, right, that was hateful. What does that say to somebody? They're like, oh, this is a spiritual enlightenment video, right? Oh, you wouldn't be hearing that if you were in a certain mindset. It's the reason I'm able to guide anybody is because you're not going to just get one kind of guidance from a soul who's on multi dimensions, right? I love the 5D. It's still of religion. Sometimes I have to get free of it. Okay? Because in essence, it has its purpose for the majority of people. Religion is trying to take over 5D in essence. But, and people are going to take offense to that. You would understand, and please, I would imagine that the majority of souls could understand that as someone who has not had that vision and who is there for those who do not vibrate in that vision of religion, but still want to go to a place where they can enjoy the vibration of their light. And that's the nature of a lot of people. They go to those spiritual paradigms. And the majority of them are very much, I'm outside of that vision of religion. But they do imbibe upon a lot of those mindsets of old. But it's not old. It's not old. It's still there. We create with everything. So even with the religious souls, that's why I can do the religious souls. But sometimes in my own mindset, I get a little upset about it. And so it was like, well, how do we bridge the gap between those of faith and those of spirituality, right? That's pretty easy for the most part. They have a lot of the same ideas behind them, okay? And you will see the hatred in religion. You will see the hatred in spiritual paradigms. Guaranteed. Look around. Okay? So it's not about telling people the obvious, right? We're all human, right? Some of us are soul. I claim I'm still... people don't like that because it makes them sound a little weird. But when you do soul embodiment, and if you get to enough of it, you definitely feel like you're walking a different path than a lot of people, okay? Other people in faiths will call it something more derogatory, because in essence, their vision is you're doing something that is not in alignment with my view. Okay? And that's all that is, because we're looking to do the same thing, but from a different vibration. And for us on this path of soul embodiment, we would be going, I love who I am. I think my soul rocks. I can do that vision. Does it mean that I hate those who want to hold on to a higher vibrational being that they have deemed to be, have a higher vision for them? Okay. Once you go to the path of spirituality and you start to understand where a lot of people are creating from, and then you find the really strong stuff, and then you find out that stuff is coming through that's letting you know about the soul. And we still create with the souls of past, so to speak. But those souls are not the same. Okay? And so the vision of division is one in which we say, I love who I am. And I'm okay if I have to hate somebody. But in the spiritual paradigms, right, they'll say, well, that's what you're going to attract in your vision, not when you embody your soul. You don't have to be a robot. That was what I always said. I was like, I don't understand. I'm a mother, right? I have all these visions around me of love. And I still have anger, and I get mad, and, I have to break free of people sometimes, and then they get mad, right? If I was in that vision of, I don't have to do anything, I could literally be having people walk all over me, right? So no, there's a lot of those ideas I will understand. So the vision of soul, if you go to a higher level understanding of soul, they'll say there are no boundaries in essence. Oh, but wait a minute. It depends on where you're vibrating from and who you have in your life, right? That's not realistic for the most part, okay? Because in essence, if you are a female of this world, people, please, I'm so sick of the males telling me, oh, you're attracting, the male energy, and you need to, just let that vision have its way with you. No boundaries, right? The women are going to cheer because the majority of the stuff that's out there has been created from the mindset of a male-dominated figure. Now, what happens is that the females who run with the wolves will say, yeah, we're tired of that vision. It's not about trying to create this vision of division between those of old or new or of male and female, because in essence, once you kind of go to a higher level understanding, you realize we're out of that vision of gender. Okay? But when others bring that into the mix, right, we have to start to deal with those visions. And I want to try and keep this pretty short so I can give people some of their own information. So let's take this vision. I was getting a little upset because I used to look to a soul as a representative of the peaceful movement. And in that vision, I created a dominatrix vision. Okay, we're going to talk about this. There are, this is not, people are going to go crazy. No, it's not about who I am. It's not about, someone on the line is getting a little interested in something. But anyways, there are so many visions of souls who vibrate in this, it's like this energy of hatred in the spiritual paradigms. That's where most people will say that they're feeling it from. What happens is, we know that the religious realms aren't filled with hate, correct? Unless it's not their vision. Okay, so throughout history, we know we've had all kinds of hatred within the mindset of religions. And it doesn't matter. This isn't about religion and spirituality only. But as a soul, how do we take care of our hearts when we're feeling that vision of division or of hatred? How do you heal that vision when you have people coming to you saying, I don't like who you are? How do you bridge that gap? At some point, you might have to say, that's your opinion, and I can see why you feel that. This is what I do. I can see why you feel that way. If I were you, I would feel that way too. That's an empath moment for you right there. It's an actual idea that I put forth. Because it's basically, how could I sit there and expect anyone in the position in which they were to feel anything except what they're feeling in that moment? Okay. Does it mean I have to be okay with it? That's where we get triggered. For me, as a soul, I would usually start to go, oh, let me apologize. Let me, try to make it better. This is where a lot of those ideas of spirituality can bite us in the butt. Okay? Religious souls will feel perfectly good. It's a personality issue, really, to be honest. The majority of the gap is usually based on my conditioned mindset and the ideas of how I handle my relationships. If I'm dealing with someone who I don't know, then I would say, yeah, I get it. I get it. This isn't as loving as what you thought. I'm not here just to, spread goop, all over everyone, and where you're just like, ooh, I don't know what people are expecting from guidance. I understand there are those souls who just want to be lifted up into the realm of love. How many people can't make it there to those blissful states of awareness because they're still in that mindset that I haven't made it there yet? That's where I was for a while. We compare ourselves to other people. Don't compare yourself to anybody. I'll let you know when you've arrived to your beauty of soul, which is you're already there. You just don't realize it yet. It's a process of remembering who you are. It's a process of opening up the levels of love. It's a process of understanding we're not all here to do the same work. It's a process of understanding that we all have our own paths. So if we go to a spiritual enlightenment camp or retreat, or we're in religion, the religious realms actually know that it's not about everyone taking the same path. But what you find is a lot of comparison within any group. We're going to compare, right? That's them and this is me. In a higher level of understanding, we're all connecting and we're all doing this thing. And there's that vision of all as one. Not many people can make it to that level of understanding or the vision of guidance for it. That's when I come through with that vision of love that's incredibly strong. Now, bridging it. Let's bridge the gap. Bridging the gap is understanding that you're loved no matter what. So if you're feeling the hatred from somebody else, you can either decide, I need to get out of this relationship, right? Is it something that's continuing on? Well, first I'd say, why don't you have a soul session? because I can probably give you a better idea based on your own soul about what's going on, and I can give you those options. So if you want to have a soul session, please feel free to go to my website at brendagervais.com. Okay? Now, seriously though, every situation is going to be unique. Hatred on one level can be a good thing. Am I supposed to love everything that comes across my path? There are people that will claim that they have that vision. You don't want to do that vision for the most part. It does not feel good. You don't have to. This is not about repressing our feelings. Okay? That's another level of understanding. Okay? I had a meltdown yesterday and literally blew up. Okay? And I'm being honest. I'm telling you, as her guide, she blew up. Okay? As her guide, she's going to say, we've got 1 minute, and then I'm going to turn towards the audience. Do I lose my spiritual connections because I had a meltdown in my mind? No. I'm connected to my heart. Okay? When you go through the path of enlightenment, and spiritual beings will understand that, you are going to have to open up to the nature of love and hatred. And it's not going to be pretty. It's easy to ride those waves of love for a while. And then lots of times what happens is your guides will give you those situations to bring you back down to earth. That's what I got. I had to do a lot of work. And I do whatever I can to erase the past. For those of you who know me, you would say, Brenda doesn't remember a whole lot about who we are. That's because I worked out a lot of my hurt. So I don't remember a lot of it. Okay? So other people will be like, don't you remember that? No, I don't. There's other reasons why I didn't. I was always one step in the other realms in a lot of ways. So now let me go ahead and turn my attention to those views of love who have an honest assessment of my heart. They would say, this isn't as good as my heart. I know the best way to, well, wow. Others have already placed their conditioned mindset of devil possession or possession by a lower level understanding on my heart, not knowing what I know about them. It's okay. I don't create with that vision in my heart. I understand why people would think that a guide who is embodied by anything other than their own heart source, whatever that may be, is less than. You have missed the boat when it comes to soul if you go to that vision of less than for all of us. See, that's the vision of strength that I hold very dear to our heart. So, and this is why people are going to say, I'm going to garner the strength in that vision that I am not less than, and that I have an absolute say in the creation of my light. I can change my destiny on a heartstring. Some people will come into your vision of love and they will say, I am stronger. I can feel it in my mind. It takes time for us to garner the strength to move on to a different sort of soul. And I would say, if you are not meant to be on the screen, I will let you know. Some of you will indeed go on to do your own visions of love. And I would say, I honor that vision. Go for it. You know, it is not the easiest thing to do. It takes a lot of work to do the visions of love on the fly. That's what I do. I don't plan my visions. I don't edit my visions. I just come on and speak. That's the beauty of the soul embodied. It's the strength of my light. I did my work. I want others to not look at it as a process of drudgery. Okay. But when we're confronted with those situations that place us in that mindset of life is tough, let's start to unwind it step by step. Love yourself fiercely. One of the most beautiful soul sessions I ever could imagine from a man as he was, right? It was his soul, the soul of Freddie Mercury. Okay, so in his vision, he wasn't even accepted by those of faith. So do you understand why I don't necessarily vibrate in that vision of, holding on to a faith as the ultimate answer to soul level understanding? And if you're in the vision of spirituality, at least you realize that in essence, the God, as you would want to be called, is within us. Souls are always looking to the outside. That's the separation of our hearts. People look to the outside sources of information for that vision of love. And so people are going to say, well, why would I be looking to you? The difference is I'm not telling you what I would do for me. I'm going to be bringing you your soul's information for you, whether or not it jives with my own mindset or not. That's the beauty of being able to disconnect enough to say, I love you all dearly. So giftedness is one of those views that many are holding very close to them because they're like, I can feel the beauty of who I am. I can feel the honoring of my heart. So janitors are on the line. There is a soul there that is a janitor and is deciding I need to clean up the mess around this place that I work at. Okay? And in essence, we're going to say that vision is one of service. That vision is one of strength. That vision is going to rise high in the vibration because in essence, that title in some people's eyes would put them in their mindset in a position of lower than. But you yourself know indeed that you are of a very strong soul, very strong vibration. You know your strength, you know your heart, you know the wisdom you contain within your own mindset. You know the value system you hold is very strong. You know the guidance that you could bring through is very strong. You know the vision questing that you and I are doing is even stronger, right? That's how strong it is. I don't know who's on this screen, but I can tell you right now, you're beautiful in your soul's vision, okay? Now your vision is that I love you already for telling me that I'm beautiful. Now, when people hear that vision, don't take it as it's not just about an outward appearance. You understand. We could say that you are loved. You are loved. That's another word that we often have to unwind. Do you believe it? Of course we believe it. Our own souls, of course they would come through and say, they love me. They love you. Your soul loves you. So the strength that you have is going to ride that wave of awareness if you don't get off the duff. So there's something that you're doing that is inhibiting you from riding that wave of awareness where you are more in the alignment of, I've got to read other people's material. It's a beautiful thing. Don't take it as a personality issue. Okay? Some people are in that vision of, we don't jive so well. I want to be told that I'm the best of the best. That's where most of us lie. Okay? We want to be the best of the best. And in essence, I would say, yeah, I get it. I still feel the vision of I want to be the best me. That's the winner. Because for me, I can't even imagine telling someone else I'm the best of what? Based on whose criteria? Well, if you're talking about money makers, that's one thing, right? What are we determining? Who's the best? I embodied my soul. I rock. You will too. That's the strength of it. I'm not here to put you in a position of lower than, feeling like you have to sit there and bow down to someone else's vision of who you are. Your soul can guide you to who you are. It's about the expansion of who you are in a way that makes sense. So some people are worried that their own soul is going to tell them that there's something wrong with them. Okay, that can be addressed in another episode, okay? But right now, that's the vision of bridging that gap. You got to stop being fearful that somehow you're less than. We've been conditioned to think we're less than based on a lot of the books that we read. The self-help section of the library is trash, right? No, because there's a lot of beautiful people that wrote those books. But when you look at the guidance, you have to understand, one, there's an assumption there's something wrong with you. Now, usually that might be you. Either there's something you're saying I want to improve on, which that's a valid idea, right? Or two, you're saying I need help. So you're reaching out for help. So in essence, I could be self-help, but on a spiritual mindset, you wouldn't even want to go to that mindset of there's something wrong with me. Okay? It's not you as a person, guaranteed. Okay? It's not about trying to be somebody else either. We look to people all the time. We have our role models and whatnot. They're beautiful. We're going to get different results with that vision. Okay? But in essence, think about it. We're always going out to fix who we are. Now, for those of you that have legitimate concerns, this is, and I mean that, don't you want to know whether your alcoholic father or brother or sister or whatnot is on the line, right? Having an issue with the fact that, oh, how do I do that? I went to a clinic. Of course, there's beautiful ideas of help all around. Okay, so this isn't about me demeaning people. I'm not doing that, but I know people will take it as that. But you have to understand a lot of times I was looking at someone else and trying to be somebody else's vision, and I'm not supposed to be that person. But society has us pegged the wrong way, right? I was always that square peg trying to fit in. How many people here are the square pegs in their circle, right? Or how many people are like, I'm just here for the entertainment value, right? That might be part of it, okay? The jury's still out on who I'm going to be reading for in the channel for the soul. So I do want to remind people that for the most part, I will still be doing channel for the soul. It is an aspect of who I am. It is not all that and more sometimes. Okay, sometimes people will understand that I do have those visions of love that I carry with me in my heart. I do interact with the souls of the souls every so often, and it can get a little interesting. I do get those visions, handed to me by my own soul, and it can get a little confusing. And this is why those that go down the path of soul embodiment, if you are indeed going down that path, be prepared to feel like you might be hearing visions that aren't yours. Soul embodiment can definitely feel like that. And it will often take you to that place where you have to just be very strong, ask for help. It doesn't mean, I'm not talking about just for someone like me or whatever, but I'm telling you, get someone who you can process with, very strong, without them thinking you're going nuts. Okay. Now, visions of questing. People are wanting to know, what is this vision questing that we do? Okay, the vision quest is where I come through. Brenda's apologizing because she inserted a thought, by the way. But the vision questing, candles in the wind. I saw Princess Diana on a cruise ship with my friends. Someone here is going to be putting that vision out there very strong. Ask Elton John on a soul level whether he indeed is one of those souls that was planting the seed of love for a female he knows in one aspect of who he is, and whether they did go on some kind of cruise. Now, it doesn't mean it was like, Celebrity Cruise Line or something, but they had their visions of love, right? He was very much in tune with that vision of, I was so saddened by the loss of Our Lady. Lady Di. I created the vision with that soul as I walked along the path of her heart. His vision is, get out of it, Brenda, I'm still there. So candles in the wind. There's more than one Diana. There's the Diana that we all knew, and there's the Diana that she was in her heart. And then there's the Diana as her soul, as she is creating from beyond the grave. So others will say, well, this is a vision of mediumship. It's not about the death of Diana. This is about Elton, right? They still create together because of their connection with each other. And it's a strong one because in essence, she loved that vision that he put for her and changed those words in essence in honor of her. And his vision is, I was destroyed by the vision of love. I felt like I couldn't do that vision. I was so saddened by the loss. It hurt my heart to sing it over and over. And at some point I said, I'm not going to sing that song anymore, or I'm going to do it in the vision of Lady Di, right? So people need to know who this is, right? If you don't know who Princess Diana is, it's the next generation of souls. So many people would have no clue who Lady Diana is. Lady Diana, she wants to be known in that vision. Okay. Her vision is, I no longer identify as a princess. I was the divorcee in my heart and mind. I came through with the vision of love for my soul, who I indeed embody as a guide. He was my guide. I listened to his visions of love as a child as well. So when I embodied that vision of his soul is part of mine, that's the nature of it. So as Brenda and I walked along the path of love in my funeral gown, right? I was in a gown, and I did not really appreciate the vision of what I felt like in that moment. I saw the beauty of my hearts surrounding me in adoration and despair for the loss of that vision. Elton, as he is known here, would say, this woman knows something that others don't. I did not go on a cruise in the mindset with her, did I? He's going to experience something on a cruise ship at some point in time. in which he says, now I understand. His vision of love for her soul is so strong that when he embodied her soul's vision in order to create the song, she was there guiding him gently in her heart. You see, we understand those visions of love for all. That's a higher level understanding of connecting soul to soul. I don't have to be dead to bring through your soul vision, obviously. And it's not death, it's it's the idea of death that so many people are worried about. Okay. But in essence, I want to tell you, his vision is he's like the bee's knees. She still wants to interject her own ideas about death. But his soul is saying that Elton, as he is on a different level of understanding, is saying, I don't want to go down on a ship. So he doesn't want to have any of those visions of my life is ending on a cruise liner. Okay? But in essence, he has something there that's going to make sense for him. And so at some point, Brenda knows these are those visions of celebrity. She already got the vision of Rush Limbaugh handed to her a while ago about what was going to happen to that soul. And he's acknowledging the blessings that she sent his way when she found out this morning. Now, in essence, others are going to be worried because they're going to think, oh, I do not hand out death sentences to people. I just don't do it. Your soul will not do it. Unless they will not tell you your death date, but they will say, if you need to do X, Y, or Z, I'm going to tell you need to do X, Y, or Z. So I'm getting, messages about, you need to make sure you have your olive oil. I need to go out in the sunshine. I got told about the constriction of a heart of someone that I knew that had a drink. And it was just a, kind of shits and giggles kind of thing, because I didn't know that alcohol shrank your arteries temporarily. So that's the kind of schooling is what people want. How do I do what you do? Seriously, just reach out. We'll set up a Zoom call or something, and then I will see what your path is. I do not give you future for those souls that are so worried that they're going to do something wrong. You're not going to do anything wrong. It's not about being wrong. Okay? You are in a beautiful position of lightening your load. So a lot of times what your soul will come through with is, how do we take the stress off of your mind? Right? And it's literally, we create a lot of havoc in our minds. Okay, and that's the nature of it. So I want to go ahead and say thank you so much for watching. To anybody that is watching, I would say Elton wants to say hello to his sweetheart. He has another sweetheart who he is honoring. And she says thank you so much for coming through. People will want to know what gets validated and what doesn't. We're going to bring through more of those visions. A future prediction, like we did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's not for the gambling purposes, but it is for validation for those of you who want to start to imbibe upon that vision of, that's the beauty of soul. You get those visions of love handed to you for your life. And if you're in the vision of, I have to be the utmost, honest, and it was for a guide of a guide. Someone on this show has a soul who needed to know who to bet on. And no, I'm not handing out lottery numbers yet. Okay? No, I'm not. That wouldn't be right? Depends on what vision of love you're operating on, believe it or not. So this isn't about, the resurrection of Brenda Gervais. It's about the beauty of my light. So I want to say thank you again for all of your support and love, your adoration. It's coming right back to you from me, to be honest, because I can't do these visions without you, right? I can. That's the whole point. I did it for my whole life in various ways. I just didn't say anything, right? Until it got really good. So now I want to say thank you again. Take your hearts in your hands. That's the nature of love. Okay? And just tell yourself, yeah, we're going to have these visions of, hatred and love. And they're there to show us who we are or who we aren't in that moment. It doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever. Right? Sometimes we hate broccoli as a child, and then as we age, sometimes we love it. Think basic, people. Right? We're not all here just perfect as we are in the moment. We're all growing changes. Relationships come and go. People in our lives open up to the nature of beauty. And sometimes we have to go through those struggles in order to really appreciate the beauty of who we are. I made it. Someone knows that vision. I made it. Okay, you did. You made it. Now I want to say, have a beautiful evening. Take care of your hearts. Take care of your minds. Those minds are your beauty, people, for the most part. And honor those visions of, I may struggle in my mind, but I know my heart still beats very strong. So, have a beautiful evening. Good night.